could go all the way. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome to Even Strength. We are, well, I'm in the Magic Kingdom.
I was going to say, it didn't look like a hockey rink.
No, I'm where it's a lot warmer, and there's a castle right there.
I'm wearing a toque.
So welcome in, everybody. It's hockey night from Magic Kingdom and Canada at the same time. So we're here to talk some hockey. Let's say hey to everybody right off the bat. Matt, Carl, been in the streams all day. Same with Steve. Bucks, welcome in. Brian Wasco Pico train in the house. Let's see who else we have. Nami Nam, Jonathan Chong, Jacob 12. What's happening? And let's see who else do we have. Dallas Hockey Girl, AAU Triton. By the way, sorry we're a few minutes late. Dave was in the wrong stream. So if everybody just got a notification that I'm watching the Game 7 of the Rangers, you've been lied to by me. So with that, let's just pull the Band-Aid right off the bat. Dude, I'm so sorry. It was a well-fought game. I've been getting updates the whole day.
Listen, it is what it is, but the first thing we learn to do when you learn to play the game of hockey is adapt to your situation. And we have a situation we have to adapt to, so we just do this. Go Panthers!
Go Panthers!
They're going to the second round. Let's go Panthers!
So
that's how we roll.
There's an irony to this because my Game 7 is tomorrow. And there's a good chance that I wind up doing this and I put on a Tampa Bay Lightning hat and we keep going. Everyone knows Tampa's my second team. I was rooting for Toronto for you just because I wanted to see Toronto pull it out because I really wanted to see you and I call a game together, Toronto versus, you know what? I even have this backwards. You know what? We're just going to have to deal with it because I'm afraid to touch anything. Let's see what happens. Oh, I was able to switch it. So it's Magic. We're in the Magic Kingdom, so we should be able to do some magic. But let's see, what happens with mine tomorrow because it may be that we're both knocked out and that you're rooting for your second team. I'm rooting for mine, which inevitably they will wind up playing.
Yes, and that would be exciting, and it would bring all of our dreams to come true.
And we can still call a game together. So
there you go.
It'd be kind of a lot of fun, but I think you guys got hosed on a couple of calls. Like I said, I've been getting live updates. Yeah, 1 or 20. But
it was tough. Listen, all in all, it's a Game 7. Anything can happen. They had a whole bunch of other games where they could have finished it. Game 6 was ridiculous. Some phantom calls. The conspiracy is very much alive in terms of NHL and the officials wanting to make it really hard for Toronto to move on. It was just, I said it during our stream tonight. I love to be able to say my team just sucked. They didn't play well. They lost it on their own. Or for you to argue your team was bad. The goalie didn't show up.
Yeah.
But when you're questioning every call, when you're questioning every play, why didn't they call that? Why did they call this? We scored earlier on and it would have been a tie game. And they said, nope, there was an interference, a pick earlier in the series. And so no goal and you get a penalty. And when you watched it back, it was like the trailing guy who was not in the play. The Leafs defenseman was coming in. He tried to pivot and get out of the way. The Tampa Bay player could have very easily went around him, but instead he kind of stuck out his leg and knocked into him. And I referenced it kind of saying it's the same as in basketball. When you're taking a shot and you jump about 3 feet to the side into another player to try and draw a foul. That's kind of what happened here. And the refs bought it. and they waved off the goal and gave the Leafs a penalty. It was a lot of garbage. But it is what it is. Playoffs.
Yeah, and look, I can appreciate that. You saw my game one where we won it, even though we went to triple overtime. We did win. But it is what it is. I would ask you this: if we're talking about conspiracies, is it a Toronto not to move on, or is it a Tampa three-peat?
I think it's a little of both. Toronto hasn't won a first-round playoff matchup since 2004. A little bit of a stretch. And there's a lot of teams. Yes, the NHL wants to see some of these smaller market teams go further to drive ticket sales and drive revenue.
Sure.
Regardless, what Toronto could finish in dead last, and they would still sell 18,000 tickets and be sold out in one of the highest valued franchises in the league. So nobody's concerned of the bookkeeping of the blue and white. But seeing Tampa go on, giving them that chance for the three-peat is a big deal. Florida moving in. Listen, I love the Panthers, but they don't draw a lot of people to those games. So seeing them go on, it's going to help, increase ticket sales and improving the viability of that franchise.
Well, if you can use the word three-peat, and let's be honest, after this, Tampa's got to do a rebuild. They're going to hit a salary cap nightmare starting next year and the year after, that they're not going to be able to compete for a little bit. They would have to trade away everything, including the stadium, in order to compete. And that's just not going to happen. And I think that they feel like you're on the upside and that Tampa's on the downside. And it's, I've been comparing a lot of sports lately to WWE. And it just feels like sometimes, you can play the best you can possibly play. There's some scenarios that they can't control, but then there's sometimes it's so blatantly obvious. If you watched our game last night, you heard me losing my mind on some of the calls or non-call. I mean, I don't know how you can stick a guy in the nuts and not get a call for spearing. I just don't understand. By the way, the stick was so far lodged up inside his pants, it stayed there. How does that happen? The hook of the stick was through his pants. I don't get that. So you don't, there's just too many times where it's a judgment call. They need to take the judgment away from the refs on the ice. It needs to go to a booth referee, like I've said 80,000 times. I will continue to lobby for it because they should be using replay on some of this stuff. They got to get it right. It's the playoffs.
Yep. This might be really small on your phone. Where's my camera? This is a shot from overtime in Game 6. Right? This guy held Matthews' jersey, went water skiing for 7 seconds. 7 seconds. That's pretty blatant. Guess what? No call.
Are you surprised? And that's the point, though. I kind of have gotten to a place with this whole thing where I was like, tomorrow is not what team shows up. It's what does the league want. And the question is, are they going to say it's 16 years of the Penguins and we want to see Penguins Carolina, or do they want to see Rangers Carolina? Which one do they think is better for business? And I don't know. I mean, the report that came out today is Jari was out on the ice skating, broken foot 4 weeks ago. He's out on the ice. He's skating. He's taking shots. You got Sidney Crosby with a concussion who is out skating. I think they're both in tomorrow. Now, kind of moving past it a little bit, and obviously we'll come back. Theo's like, is that a green screen behind you? Yes, the people moving are not real. I'm in the Matrix. So the question really is this. Now, you're a hockey guy through and through, no doubt. You have Domingue, who has kept them in this. Jari is their number one, no doubt. Who starts in net for you tomorrow night? Guy broken foot, hasn't played in a month? Or your guy who's gotten you through and he was a little shaky in Game 6?
I would still go back with Domingue. If you have Jari, if he's available, you keep him there in case things get out of hand kind of quick.
Yes.
If he lets in a stinker or two, then you swap them. But you have to go with him. He's the one. Ride him out. I
could not agree with you more. I have sat here because I've been hearing the reports that Jari is potentially starting. And I was like, this is stupid. You just took a guy who has carried your team and you benched him, if that's the case. And I said, what's going to happen is if Jari gets injured, or let's say he re-aggravates it, or it's just too much pain. It's only been a month.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a broken foot. It's not comfortable inside skates last time I checked. And what happens? All of a sudden you go back to him and he's just a little pissy. And he's like, well, you guys should have started me in the first place. His head may be in the wrong spot. I think exactly what you said is right. They go to Ming to start. If he looks shaky for any reason, you pull him, you put in Jari, who's going to be ready to go anyway. And then let's ask you this. Sid the Squid, he's got history of concussions. He's only sat out one game. Do you start him?
Captain Soggy Melon? I don't know. It's playoffs. It's game 7. I think he would have to be showing a tremendous amount of concussion symptoms and failing tests left, right, and center to be held out. I think, and this is one of those things, like there's concussion protocol rules for a reason. He probably should not play if there's any question in their mind that he suffered a concussion or, potentially, he should not be playing. Like,
well, there was a rumor that when he went back to the bench after he got the hit, he looked around and he goes, hey, does anybody else hear that? So, look, the guy's got a history of it. So, look, I want him to play. Why? Because I don't want everyone to say the only reason that you guys won was that you cheap shot at Crosby and he's sitting on the bench. So if we win, I want it to be for that reason. But I can also tell you, that if you come within 3 feet of him, you're getting a penalty.
Yeah.
Like you can't even look at him wrong.
I think regardless if he plays or doesn't play and New York pulls out the win, that's going to be the asterisk beside it. Well, Crosby wasn't at his best. He was hurt. Pittsburgh had their backup goaltender in. Nobody looks to say, listen, the Rangers played great hockey. They had a couple stinkers. They got beat in a couple good games by Pittsburgh. No one's going to look back at that. They're just going to look at it and say Pittsburgh wasn't at their best in Game 7.
Well, and the funny part about it is nobody's going to talk about the fact that the Rangers were injured.
That's right.
Mott didn't come back until Game 6. Sammy Blais is out. He's been out almost all year. There's other players that have come in and out. Lindgren was playing at like 60%. You got guys that are playing hurt. So nobody's going to say anything about the Rangers. That's for sure. They're just going to kind of blow past it and say, hey, this is what happened. But you're 100% right that that's the case. Just so that the mods know, I screwed up and I actually started the stream for tomorrow. So that link is probably dead. Just so I say it out loud. But go check out Sam on YouTube. I'm going to have to put up a new stream for tomorrow. I screwed up. My bad, everybody. That's where I started tonight's stream, was in tomorrow night's stream. So Jen had to send me a message and go, hey, stupid, you're on the wrong channel. And I was like, oh, whoops. So thank you, mods, and my bad. But other than that, you're going to be rooting for Florida here on out. I called Florida for to lose to the Caps. What'd you think of that game?
It was a crazy game. Caps went up.
Thank you, Mike.
Caps went up. I wasn't sure if Florida was going to pull through. It was a back and forth game. That whole series, Florida and Washington, was great. I actually thought this was going to be a 6-game series, 5 or 6. But man, Washington really impressed me. I was like, TJ Oshie, man, I want him on my team.
Let me tell you something. I would still take Ovi.
Yep.
I'm sorry, but this is still a team next year. If they can, if they can hold it together, I think that there's still a chance for them to make a run again next year.
Yeah.
They had some injuries and some other things, but that team is solid as a rock.
They really, really are. If they can keep everybody and make some good additions in the offseason, they're going to be really good for next year.
That's what I think. There's no doubt about that. What did you think about Carolina Bruins?
So this is one I was dead wrong. I thought Carolina going into this series with their goaltending injuries, I thought they were dead in the water. 5 or 6 games, Boston was going to steamroll them. I'm happy I was wrong. Just being a Toronto fan, I don't like Boston. Well, heck, even if I wasn't a Leaf fan, I don't like Boston anyways.
Nobody likes Boston.
Yeah. So happy that Carolina had a chance to move into the next round. I think regardless if it's Rangers or Penguins, it's going to be another great series. Carolina's just looking real good.
I think if it's Carolina Penguins, I think they're going to rock Penguins. The Penguins, let me tell you something. We've now played them 6 games. I can tell you this. They've got heart and they've got experience. But that's about where it ends. The Rangers have not played their game. And anybody who wants to argue that with me, go back and watch middle of the season. Every time that I sat there and said the Rangers are standing flat-footed, the Rangers aren't moving, what has followed? A goal. Every time I said when the Rangers start to circle the wagons and they're playing tape-to-tape passing, they win. I have not been wrong yet. If the Rangers show up tomorrow night and they come out, and I'm talking about full-on whacking into next week hits, tape-to-tape passing, and they go north to south, Penguins are done. And it's just that simple. If the Rangers show up and they're watching the puck go by, game's over. The Penguins will go on. Rangers-Canes, I think it's a 7-game series. I just think that Carolina's that good.
Yeah, they're really impressive so far. On the flip side, obviously we talked before Colorado. We knew where they were going. They had an easy time there. But this is another one I got wrong. I kind of called Minnesota to make some noise. They pushed it. They pushed it far, but St. Louis just comes out on top moving into the second round.
I got to give a shout out to Chris. He's been giving me crap all day for the last 3 days on text messages because he's from St. Louis, and he's like, "Oh, you guys called me out last week, said that we were out. We were 100% wrong." I have been the truth is you haven't heard the St. Louis Blues name all season. Like, it's not just the playoffs. You haven't heard anything all season. They've been so quiet. And then out of nowhere, 4-2, bang, done, series closed out. And they did it handedly. I think because I don't have my computer in front of me, I think it was 5-1. I mean, it was they just dominated. So it's just one of those things where you and I both got that one wrong. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah, it was a great back and forth series. But yeah, the last game 5 and game 6, actually game 4, the last 3 games, 4, 5, and 6, St. Louis putting up 5 goals in each game, which is pretty.
They've just
pretty
been
amazing.
Dominating, man. And it's like, and again, I'll have to lean on you for virtually everything tonight as I'm goofing off. So, like, I'm not sure who's setting up where. The only thing that I know is obviously the winner of my series goes and plays Canes. I don't know who's playing in the Florida series or Tampa. So, it's going to be amazing to watch how that comes out. But I watched another game last night. I've watched every one of them. As soon as a Ranger game goes off, I've been watching Stars Flames. I do not want this series to end. This is literally one of the best series in hockey. It should be for the cup. It can't be, but it should be. It's that good of a series.
Dallas has really surprised me. They're another one of these teams that I paid very little attention to during the regular season.
Yeah.
And they've really impressed me. This is when I thought Calgary was going to sweep them. 4 or 5 games. I thought it was going to be done.
Yeah.
And Dallas has just been really good. Listen, first game, Calgary won it 1-0. Second game, Dallas took it 2-0. Then Dallas took it 4-2. Like, it's just been a back and forth series. This is one of the only series where there haven't been blowouts, 5-0, 6-0. 4 goals is the most. And the 2 shutouts in the first 2 games, just spectacular. So really impressed. I agree. It's sad that this series is going to have to come to an end tomorrow night.
Not to mention the hockey that has been played. It has been what I consider hockey: hitting, battling, fighting, checking, passing. It's been phenomenal to watch. I've almost enjoyed it more than any other series this year. and it has been so much fun to watch. I can't. I got to be honest. Win or lose, Rangers tomorrow night. I'm watching that game because I can't wait to see what's going to happen. So
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've got the ability to pull it up, but who's actually closed out the series? Who we know is matched up with who? If we know anybody right now, because a lot of game 6 is just or 7's just finished.
Yeah, so we know for sure it's Colorado, St. Louis.
Yep.
I think as much as I give St. Louis credit for beating the Wild, I think Colorado is going to take this one easily.
You think it's 5 games, or you think it's 6?
5 or 6, kind of in that range. I think this Minnesota series took a whole lot out of St. Louis, and Colorado's had a chance to rest. So if St. Louis wins one, I think it could be the first one, just because Colorado has been out for a long time, and sometimes you get a little bit of that rust getting back in.
Yep.
The other series in the West still to be decided. We know, Flames Stars tomorrow night. Tonight, right now, it's the Oilers Kings. That is in progress, and it's 0-0 halfway through the first. So this is another one that I kind of got dead wrong. I did not think the Kings had a chance to be anywhere in this series, and here we are, Game 7.
I'm going to stick to my original statement. I hate the Kings, and I can't say anything positive. Go Oilers! Welcome in, Charlie. And by the way, Brian, you've got your blue wrench, don't you? I just want to say if you do, because I can't see it on my screen. But if Brian Wasco, if you've got your wrench, welcome to the Mod Squad. If you're not, let me know, and I'll make sure that happens. Yeah, I mean, at this point, I think I agree with you about Avs, St. Louis. I'm going to say it's a 6-7 game series. Cool. Welcome to the Mod Squad, Brian. I'm thinking 6-7, and the reason I'm thinking 6 or 7 is I agree with you. I think first game that they're going to go down just because of that rust. I think they're going to pick up another one somewhere along the way. They're a good team. They proved resiliency. I hate when teams sweep. It seems like they come out a little different in round 2. It's kind of like a cockiness too. It's not just the rust, but it's like, hey, well, we did a sweep. No one else did. And they could lose 2 back-to-back, and they would be at home. So that could really do some damage if that happens. So I'm going to call it in 6 or 7. And I'm really kind of leaning towards a 7-game series. And if that happens to the Avs, that's going to cause them some issues going into round 3.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we'll see how it kind of turns out. And obviously, LA or Oilers, go Oilers.
Yeah. That's. I think it'll be fun. I'd love to see the Oilers and the Flames matchup. I think that'll be a spectacular series, and really set up an interesting round 2. Again, Panthers, Lightning, Florida State battle. I think that's going to be a fun series, and then of course, the Canes Rangers would be sweet.
So is the Florida series set?
That is set now. Yeah.
All right. So you and I are going to have to call some games together. We're just going to have some fun with that. Set them up on both streams so that you're streaming to your peeps. I'm streaming to mine. Let's have some fun with this. I mean, I think it would be just a blast. I would love for you to do a little bit of the calling and me just to be a smartass. I think it would be funny. Because you do. I just find myself, I don't know if you do this. Do you ever find yourself when you're calling the game just watching?
Tonight I did a little bit. Because it was so intense and certain things were happening, I was always trying to watch when they were showing replays of stuff, what's going on in the background, to see if I missed something or what the refs are missing. And I caught myself like, oh, sorry, I was just watching for a second.
See, I found myself not saying a word last night. I was literally sitting there and I'm watching the game and I'm like, and in my back of my head, I went, hey, stupid, you got to talk. And I was like, oops. But I think it would be funny just to have some fun with it, especially since your number 2 team which is ironic, by the way, that you're a Panthers fan. I picked Tampa for 2 reasons. Number 1, I lived in Tampa, and number 2, or actually I lived outside of Tampa, but and number 2, there was a 2 or 3 year period where half the team were former Rangers, so it wasn't hard to root for them. But it'll be a lot of fun. You tell me what games you want to do, and obviously, depending upon what happens tomorrow night, will be depending upon my availability. Because I would assume Eastern is still gonna. Maybe they do them alternating nights. I don't know. It'd be cool if it was Rangers and Canes, and then on the other night it would be Florida, the Florida matchup. That'd be fun.
Yeah, I would. I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm assuming that's what they're going to do. That they'll have one East, one West each night.
I think so too.
But we'll see. We'll have to see what that schedule works out to be. And yeah, for me, because we go down to Florida every year. I've been coming to Florida every year since I was like a toddler, and it wasn't till obviously the Panthers had to be born. But then as I was older and the Panthers were there, we used to, head over to Sawgrass, do some shopping, and then go across the street and watch the game. And over the years, we kind of dropped the shopping part of it, and we would just go over to the game. And it's been a tremendous amount of fun. We usually could get really, really good seats, and we'd see either Toronto, Montreal, or New York, because all the snowbirds, there over the holidays, they're all there, and those are the teams that come in. And I actually, one of my favorite times at a Panthers game, we ran into Michael Rosenbaum, who played Lex Luthor on Smallville back in the day. So Panthers were playing the Rangers, and he was there to cheer for the Rangers. And we saw him, and he kind of came up and signed some autographs. And yeah, super, super nice guy.
It's awesome, dude. That's a great story. Totally great. So what are we thinking? We're thinking Tampa, Florida. You're obviously going to say Panthers to take it in 5. I'm going to say you're going to say Panthers in 5. I'm going to say Tampa in 6.
Yeah, I kind of think you're probably right in the 6 games. Man, just watching how Tampa played, this series is going to be 2 completely opposite styles. Panthers were much like Toronto. They can still play physical, but they are a highly skilled team. Where Tampa is dirty, they grind it out, they clutch and grab, they cheap shots, all the good stuff. So it's going to be interesting to see. The early percentages say Florida's going to take it kind of 65% to 35%. But what we've learned in the first round is those mean absolutely nothing. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Regardless.
I can't wait. So basically what we're saying is a lot of this is going to be determined, obviously, tomorrow. Series are going to be set for sure. We'll know a lot more as the night progresses on the West. We'll know more tomorrow, and then you're more than welcome if you're not busy tomorrow. Jump into the stream in between periods, come hang out, whatever. I don't care.
Sure.
And this way we can kind of give an update as to what's going on where. Because let's be honest, it's a lot of fun to do the conjecture. It's a lot of fun. It's more fun when we know who's who. The Tampa Florida series for me and you is going to be a blast. Right now, I'm literally sweating tomorrow night. It's hard to focus on any other games. I'm sitting here. I'm like, do I really have to talk about other hockey games? I couldn't even imagine coming in the condition you came in. I probably would have been like, I would have come in and been like, yeah, everybody, Rangers lost. The show's going to suck. And just Sam, take over.
Listen, at the end of the day, hockey is hockey. Whether you win or lose, for me now, it's what are they going to do in the offside? Offside? What are they going to do in the off season? Is coach fired tomorrow? Is Trotz signing a new deal in a week from now? Are they trading Nylander? They still have to sign Jack Campbell and a bunch of other players. So there's so many questions in the air for Toronto. So now we get to start seeing some of those pieces, how they're going to maneuver around. But it is what it is.
You did call this last week, though. You did call this last week.
Yeah, I did. I said if they don't win Game 6, if Tampa comes back and wins Game 6, they were going to win the whole series. Looking up the stats, Toronto, they're terrible in closeout games. They're like 0 for 8 or something, or 0 for 15, some crazy stat. They just can't win these closeout games.
I actually meant the Trotz thing, because
Trotz thing.
you might not be wrong, because you're the best fit. In all actuality, he's leaving Islanders. It's close enough. It's not really going that far. And you guys are positioned where good coaching, couple of good moves, and you guys are contending.
Yeah.
It kind of makes sense.
The biggest thing that's going to be interesting, and I think will dictate this move, is our general manager has taken Kyle Dubas has taken Sheldon Keefe everywhere he's gone, and they've kind of been a dynamic duo. So will Dubas be smart enough to pull the trigger, or is he kind of a live by the sword, die by the sword guy that Keefe is his guy regardless? Or maybe Shanahan comes out and says, you know what, you've had several years, you've done nothing, and get rid of the GM and the coach.
I would say to you that there's a potential of that happening, simply because if there was a first strike scenario, this was your year. You guys traded for it. So you guys put your eggs in that basket to get it done. Got rid of a second rounder. That's not a light thing to do. I mean, I'm glad you guys didn't give up the first rounder, because that's what they were asking for from us.
Right.
But you guys got away with a second rounder for Giordano. And I think at the end of the day, that's going to, it may make a difference. It's like, well, wait a second. You asked for the pieces. We gave them to you. You didn't get it done. And, you know, you can give all the excuses about the reffing and all the other crap that you want to, but W's are W's. And you may see it happen, especially when you have someone, I mean, let's be honest. Trotz, if he's not one of the best on the market, he is the best on the market. Hard to pass him by. You hold on to him another year and you guys don't grab another cup and he goes somewhere and puts one over his head. Everybody in your front office is gone.
Oh yeah.
They may fire the owners.
Yeah.
So you just don't know. I mean, but you did call it last week, so it's kind of cool to see. Some of our predictions go wildly wrong. Some of them are like, wow, well, let's see what happens with Trotz. You could see a signing as early tomorrow.
Yeah. Oh, wouldn't that be something? His teams come in to clear out their lockers, and it's like, hey, coach, can we talk for a minute?
Yeah. Here's your exit interview. Meet your new coach. And I mean, do I think it's going to happen that fast? No. But you guys are out as of, half an hour ago or 40 minutes ago. You guys are allowed to talk to him right now.
Yeah. And there's conversations taking place inside with all the board of directors and whatnot, saying, what the hell went wrong? We got to fix this.
It happened in game 5. They were starting to sit there and say, what happens? Or when Trotz got fired, every board of directors got together and said, so what's the criteria? It's like, is that an upgrade? The average team, the answer is yes. So you have to ask yourself that question. Do you want a Barry Trotz? Do you want a John Tortorella? Like, I'm sorry, Tortorella's no Trotz.
No.
So,
and I think Tortorella, we had that opportunity for him a couple years back when he was between gigs. And at the time I was like, yeah, he'd be a good fit. And then as time went on, I was kind of like, no, I don't think he's the guy. I thought actually when Keefe came in, I was pretty impressed. He came in, he worked with the Marlies, the young kids, took them to the AHL championships. They won that. Coming in here, after what's his face? I can't even think of his name now. Oh my God, he was the coach before. He had the socks. They put him on socks. They let him go, and then it came out all the players were talking badly about him.
Babcock.
Babcock, thank you. After he left and Keefe coming in, I'm like, wow, he works really well with the young kids. He seemed to get along with the young kids. Everyone was buying into his system. But he's run his course. And I think now they're not young kids anymore, right? We have half our salary cap tied up in 5 players.
Yeah. And there's no doubt that there's going to be some adjustments made. And that's the thing is you guys are poised right now. Now, I got to be honest, Babcock was a great coach. I don't know what really happened in Toronto, and I was surprised to see what happened. But he's available. Trotz is available. Torts is available. You've got some good coaching options out there. But sitting at the top, in my opinion, is still Barry Trotz. And you guys are poised right now. I would imagine the conversation's already been had. And it was kind of like, if we don't win, what do you want to do? And it's like, well, let's see what happens. There's a meeting. There's a Zoom call going on right now. And and you may sit there and see tomorrow morning that they're interviewing them.
Yeah.
You got to at least talk to the guy.
Yeah, I didn't get my invite to that Zoom call. I don't know what happened. It didn't come through my email.
It went to spam.
Oh, shoot. I knew I should have checked.
Went to spam. So hang on one second. We've got a couple new subscribers. Let's throw up a new subscriber. Welcome in, new subscribers. We're happy to have you. Yeah, and I mean that's the thing is there's so much going on right now. It was funny because I was talking with Bella and she was trying to understand how this whole thing works. This is her first real year of playoffs because the Rangers have sucked. So every year in April we turn the TV off, and I don't get to watch hockey again until later on. But so this year she's starting to really understand what's a best of 7, how many rounds, what happens next. And especially since I'm going to be calling games just like you are, regardless, all the way through. And it really just came down to it. It was like watching the understanding is very childlike. And she's like, well, why are you and Sam always talking about what ifs? And I was like, because it's fun. It's like, we don't know what's going to happen.
You're so right. That's half the fun of sports is being able to predict, taking a look at the current situation. We're not behind closed doors. We have no idea the conversations that are going on, who's really hurt, who's doing what. And so just to look at what's available publicly and say, this is what I think, this is what I don't think is great. Because then some of it you get right, some of it you're not even close.
Oh, yeah. And again, you put it best before the series even started. You sat there and said injuries can change a series, hot streaks, cold streaks. All of those things matter. A goalie gets hot and something happens. The next thing you know, if you would have said to me, and as a matter of fact, I said it out loud, wait a minute, are you telling me that the Penguins are starting their third string goaltender? I was like, is it Christmas morning? We're going into game 7 on a third stringer. The Rangers should have come into game 1 and went, it's Christmas morning. Let's throw 700 shots at the net. Let's destroy his confidence. Let's just go after this kid. Everybody knows his backstory now. He was literally looking for a job in the KHL. Whoever thought Louis Domingue would turn out to be, in my opinion, he's the MVP of the Pens right now.
Yep.
Without him, they're not there. They're just not. He's played amazing hockey. So I don't know, but we'll see kind of how this unfolds. Unfortunately, tonight your team went down, moving on and setting up the Florida series. My team plays tomorrow night, hopefully setting up Canes Rangers. We'll see what happens next. I mean, still have all the Western series to do, but I don't know.
Yeah, still 0-0 Edmonton, LA. 3 minutes to go in the first. And this is important for for Edmonton. Edmonton, much like Toronto, hasn't had much playoff success. And they have a team of number 1 draft picks over there.
You're right.
You have Connor McDavid, who is arguably one of the best modern age players. And this is his first time even getting a good smell of what the playoffs are like.
Exactly right. And I think that's what's so surprising to me is how many, I mean, what did they get? 42 first-round draft picks in a row? I mean, it was like, it seemed like every time we went to the draft, it was like, yeah, and the number 1 draft pick goes to or the Oilers. It's like, what? So I don't know. I mean, I think that it's going to be exciting to see, but could you imagine if they lose?
They're another team. They're going to have to really recalibrate what they have going on. There's going to be a lot of that. There were a lot of teams that were kind of pushing forward this year, and I think there's going to be a lot of retooling in the offseason. There always is.
I don't disagree.
For some reason, it just seemed like a lot more this year.
I got to be honest with you. If the hardest thing is whenever you're playing poker And that's what the offseason becomes as soon as you lose is, well, what are you doing to make adjustments? The coaches are the same way. Nobody expected Trotz to get fired the day after. Like, it was like, wait, what? So the fact that that's out there, now Trotz has ties to Manitoba. It's not out of the conceivable possibility that he goes to Edmonton. So that's another team poised to make a run. As you said, how many first-round picks do they have? They need structure. They're also, if I remember correctly, their salary cap is destroyed.
Yeah.
But, you know, at the end of the day, Trotz is going somewhere, and I have a feeling it's with one of these first-round teams that has nothing but potential. I don't believe that if the Rangers go out tomorrow, we're looking past Gallant. I don't think that's the case. Would I like to see us reach over across the bridge and grab Trotz? Sure. He wouldn't have to move far either. But I don't see that happening.
Let me throw this one at you. If you're Edmonton, you go down, you lose the first round, and you want to make a big move because your salary cap is very little. Do you move a McDavid or Draisaitl? Do you trade one of those pieces, or do you keep them both and try and work around it?
Without knowing their books, it is hard to get it. Let me just say this: Connor McDavid goes nowhere. Okay, sorry, I'm building a team around him. Do I move a Draisaitl? This is what we were talking about when we were talking the night of the lottery draft. You get these teams that are having issues because of salary cap, and you need effective general management and a good coach that has a vision for your team. If you don't have somebody that thinks that or knows what they're doing and a proven track record, maybe, but I wouldn't do it because I think it's stupid. Because if that's the case, you're going to have a fire sale. You're going to tear your team back down and start back over. That was the whole point of getting the first rounders 9 in a row anyway. So, you know, you have to kind of say, I don't think that's the case. But I said it out loud and I kind of choked on my own words when I said it. I don't know how many times you've been in listening to when I've said these exact words. The Rangers actually in this playoff series have been outcoached. There are times we have not made the adjustments in the locker room. And now that doesn't mean that the coach isn't going in and flipping a table and screaming. But if you can't get the adjustment on the bench, it's ineffective coaching. You have to bench people at the right time. You've got to play players harder when they're streaking. It's knowing what your personnel is and knowing how to motivate them. Trotz is that guy. And to be honest with you, if we lose tomorrow and I woke up Monday morning and Barry Trotz was my coach, I'd be happy about it. But I would throw this at you. It's in a game of poker. How long do you guys let the best coach, arguably, in the NHL and by the way, I'm going to end it right there. He's the best coach in the NHL. He's also unemployed. How long is this guy going to stay on the market? I can't imagine it's a week. I don't think he's trying to vie for a team like the Panthers or Tampa. Like, I just don't see that being the case. I think he's going to go to a first-round knockout that has potential, and that's you guys. I don't think it's Boston. It's not any team like that. It might be an Oilers. With his tie to Manitoba, he could go Canada all day long.
Yeah, and the fact that he hasn't signed to one of these teams that didn't make the playoffs, he's waiting to see what happens in this first round. He has his eyes.
I agree. I gotta agree with you 100% on that. I have to imagine he's got a top team on his one hand that he's got picked already, and he's probably got a top 3 and he's probably got a number 1 pick. This guy is too good at what he does. It turned into an even strength chat about Barry Trotz, but the truth is the playoffs are kind of just doing what they're doing. We're at that point where it's not how many games are left. It's we're going into next series and who's going. But the Barry Trotz, in my opinion, I'll call it the Barry Trotz lotto, has begun. You only have a handful of teams that have been knocked out already. You got to assume he's either going to stay very, very East Coast, i.e. Toronto. I don't think he goes past Detroit, in my opinion. That would include St. Louis, though, but St. Louis is still in. I don't see him going to someone like the Stars. I don't see him going to anything like that. I just don't see it. I think it's Toronto. I think it's the Oilers. Could it be Calgary? Could be Calgary if they're a first-round knockout. Again, a Manitoba tie. I don't see it going any further than that. I think it's those teams. That's just my opinion.
I would be very curious because I'm sure it goes on, even though it doesn't come out publicly. But if somebody in the front office reached out to him, said, "Hey, where are you thinking? You thinking here? You thinking there? Well, listen, if we don't make it past the first round, I can't say anything, but the kind of you read between the lines, some kind of messaging put out there to kind of let him know if this situation arises."
Look, he's got an agent too, and the agents right now are in and out of GM's offices on Zoom calls every day. Why? Yeah. Because they're jockeying for position for the day they get knocked out. And what are you going to do? And you can still talk contract negotiations, even though it's going on. You can talk extending contracts. So you call up about player XYZ and say, "Hey, by the way, I just want to let you know, I represent Trotz, right?"
Yeah.
That's a hint right there. Just so you know, I represent him. If he's on a phone call with the GM and the GM says, "So you represent Trotz, don't you?" "Yeah, but I think you guys should be worried about the playoffs right now." That would be a telltale sign as well. There are things that can be said or not be said that'll dictate that. And I bet you everything that I have that has happened. Probably 15 minutes after we all found out.
Yeah. It's very, very true. Very true. Especially in the hockey groups, people, you can't, if you sit around and wait, you're going to lose out. So you got
and that's the thing is it's like any lottery. It's like the draft pick, except coaches. There's not 100 of them out there. There's top 3 or 4, and most of them are playing. So it'll be kind of interesting to see what's what. So while we get ready to wrap up, I'm going to take us for a little walk while we talk. I'm sure nobody would mind seeing a castle.
No, not at all. Do you think Cinderella played a game in the basement of the castle? Can we start that rumor that she had an underground ice rink?
Well, supposedly there's a rumor that there's a basketball net at the top of Sleeping Beauty Castle. So really? as I understand it, there is a basketball court. So now if anybody in the chat knows if that's true or not, that would be kind of cool too. But I'm going to try and take you guys over there, wait for a little opening. Hopefully I don't drop my signal when I go to the hub, which is known to happen. So what's really funny is going from one stream, which was a Disney World stream, to an even strength stream, and I'm still walking through the park. But I figure, you know what? I didn't want to chance it because usually cell signal drops during fireworks, and they do that so that the fireworks don't go off accidentally. That's the story. But I figure, you know what? Let's give you guys a beautiful shot of the castle while we talk a little hockey. So what else is up in hockey news that you want to talk about?
So really, it's just the big guns around the playoffs trying to get stuff done. Things are going to start getting interesting now as we kind of talk through as these first round teams are getting eliminated. It's also watching some of these injuries, seeing how these injuries move through the playoffs. They obviously don't tell us a lot of what's going on. So the guys like the Crosby or the Yaris, did they come back? Did they play this game? If Pittsburgh was to go on, do they then hold Crosby back a little bit and let him recover? We'll have to wait and see. They did also talk about teams eliminated or not in the playoffs and about coaches. Bruce Boudreau, it was announced he is going to remain the head coach of the Vancouver Canucks for at least next season. So, he just came in, I think it was around Christmas time or early December, to the Canuck organization and really kind of turned them around a little bit. They still weren't great, but he made some early improvements. So he's going to remain with the Canucks through next year, which is pretty good.
And I think a lot of the teams that are bringing in those first-year coaches and second-year coaches, they got to stick with it. You got to give your plan a chance. And I think that that's super important. But it'll be interesting to see what happens with, as you said, injuries, coaching changes. This is the time of the year. I mean, as it starts to narrow down, you got to assume the teams that the farther they go, the less changes they want to make. So this is going to be interesting. There's no doubt.
Yeah. You know, one of the cool things that happened today, we talked, way back coming up to trade deadline day, and we were talking about Max Domi and the potential impact he could have and how he's a little bit of a head case and causes some issues in the locker room and all that stuff. It's Max Domi that contributed big time today, putting the Hurricanes over with his first 2 playoff goals. And when they interviewed him at second period intermission, they kind of said, so, hey, Max, what is your dad, Ty Domi, going to have to say about you getting your first NHL playoff goals? And his response, we still have a third period to play, so let us worry about that first. And that was such a great answer to the reporter who brought that up.
You know, and let me say this to the reporter that brought that up. That's a jerk-off question. It's not about his dad at that moment. It's about his moment. It was him scoring 2 goals, about being effective and helping lead his team to a win. And I hate when the kids come up and play. Like the Kachuks have to deal with it. The Domies have to deal with it. I always hate when they do it to the Stalls and they're like, well, your brother did this. Well, that's my brother. You know, what about my accomplishments? What about what I'm doing? And I think that Max handled it fantastically well. I would have probably said the same thing, and good for him. But I hate when reporters do that. I think it's stupid. I think it's kind of a low-class move. It should be about his accomplishments. And let me tell you something. I'd love to see the Rangers take pillow hands and swap them. Get Max Domi instead. Because you talk about one of the most ineffective players during this offseason. Let me rephrase that. During the season, continuing right now, Ryan Reeves, what an inefficient player. You know, it was funny. Somebody sent me a DM and said, you wouldn't say that to his face. Yes, I would. I got no problem with it.
With you.
His answer would be, really? I got paid $1.2 million to skate for 30, not even 30-second shifts. He has to do it a handful of times during the course of a game, hit a couple of people, and go off. Why does he want to fight anymore? He got paid. I would be surprised if the Rangers don't look to move on from him next year. He does have another year in his contract, but I don't see it.
Here's an interesting one, just kind of before we wrap up tonight. What's your opinion of Evander Kane scoring his 7th playoff goal, forcing a Game 7, putting up the 7 fingers as he skates by the crowd the other night? To me, I don't mind a little bit of celebrating the goals, but when you put up the fingers like that, you know, Kotkaniemi did it when Montreal was going to try and sweep Toronto, holding up the 4. I just don't like that stuff. And Connor McDavid gave it to him on the bench after that.
I'm not a fan of Evander Kane, so it's not hard for me to do a cannonball right on his head. I'm not a fan. I don't like him, never have. This is not an eye sport. It's a team sport. And it always seems to be about him. This is another one of those moments where he's antagonizing and there's no showmanship or sportsmanship. Hockey isn't about that. Hockey is doing what Sam did tonight. Sam lost, came into even strength. What did he do? He bucked up. He put his best face on. Let me tell you something. The last thing Sam feels like doing is talking hockey right now. He wants to sit there and be like, you know what? What did I say? Dave would have been a big baby. He would have come in and said, the Rangers suck. I hate this. I would have thrown my phone across the room, and I probably would have sat here and sulked half the game. I'm more like Evander Kane than Sam. And the difference is you're taking the high road and doing it the way the hockey players should. I'm one of those really overly emotional people who, and Evander Kane falls into that category, but there's too much showmanship for a guy who's been suspended how many times over stupid crap and doing too many stupid things for the level of talent that he has. He's got to move past some of this gotcha moments and start to show everybody if he wants to turn his career legacy around, he's got to start showing people the other side of Evander Kane. My opinion.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah. Now, by the way, let me conversely also say this. If you're getting razzled by the fans a lot, i.e., Igor Shesterkin, they were rooting for him whether they were at MSG or at Penn's crap hole. They were all chanting Igor. Now, we're chanting for him. They're chanting to get in his head. Me personally, if I won Game 6 last night, I'm Igor Shesterkin. If we had wrapped it up, I'd probably give everybody the finger as I'm skating off. All right, why? It would have been funny. But, you know, you can't have a history. You can't be a Brad Marchand and do it. You can't be an Evander Kane and do it. You can't be one of those gritty type people who's always getting into crap and do it because it's ineffective. It just shows you're a big baby. But if you're like one of the, like, could you imagine if Gretzky gave the entire stand the finger? Like, it would be the most talked about. Today it would be a viral video.
Yeah.
Speaking of viral videos, before we get wrapped up, they made a big deal out of nothing. But did you see when Kreider took Savannah-Jad's tablet and threw it?
No, I didn't see that.
So they come back after Savannah-Jad dinks the goalpost at the crossbar. Okay, comes down clean on a breakaway, shoots, hits the little L junction. Puck goes up into the netting. He goes back to the bench. Now, Savannah-Jad before the game had said he was trying to work out some of his issues, and that one of them was they were more focused on Sidney Crosby line than he was on his own game. So he picks up the tablet. As he goes to look at it, Kreider grabs it out of his hand and throws it behind him. After the game, they asked Kreider, and he goes, "That's one of the best players in the world right there." He's like, he's second guessing himself, and I said, "You didn't, you beat him. Okay, you just missed by an inch." He's like, "There's no second guessing. You're that good. Just adjust. Your shot needed to be 2 inches lower. You beat him." And it was like, I'm going to stand up for my buddy and say, "Yo, dude, you're playing incredible hockey. You don't need to second guess yourself right now." And I thought that was really cool. And why next year you're going to see the C on Chris Kreider's jersey. I don't know why he's not already the captain, but that's a different argument.
I love that story. That is phenomenal. That is a true leader in the making right there.
I think when we went into the playoffs, he should have walked into the locker room and found his jersey had a C on it. Shouldn't even have been a question. The fact that we're still holding off, I just can't understand. Jen is now getting on Small World last ride of the night. Thank you, Mike Wheeler. So, basically, long and the short of it is, it's going to be an amazing couple of weeks. Right now is the most stressful 24 hours of my life. I hate Game 7s more than anything. I hated last night almost all the way through. I don't know if you saw the last minute or couple of minutes of the game. I freaked out. I almost tipped over my own desk by accident when I went to jump up and I realized I couldn't jump up. So I hate these games. I love them and I hate them tremendously. But who knows? Tomorrow will tell the tale for us. And then you and I are going to call some games together. We'll have some fun with that so people can look forward to us just kind of chit-chatting during the game, giving some commentary, having some fun. I'm looking forward to any night that you want to do it and you want to invite me in, let me know. Be happy to set them up. It'll be a great, great time. But anything else?
Sounds good. No, I'm just looking forward to getting the second round going and keeping this playoff ride rolling.
Amen to that, brother. Well, everybody, obviously, let me see if I can do this with thumbs because I'm all thumbs right now. Get over there and support Sam on his channel, Sam Welb 12 Experience. Get over there if we can drop in his link. That would be spectacular. He's not done yet, everybody. The Leafs may be out, but he's going to continue going down the road because that's what we do as hockey people. It is the 2022 playoff series. A couple of those games have been X'd out already. We'll have updates with the new playoff map starting next week. Tomorrow night, you can join me for Game 7, where I have a heart attack live on camera at least twice. So, Sam, I'm dying, dude. Like, can I just stay in the Magic Kingdom? By the way, everybody, there's a castle right there.
Do it. Just get them to replace the 50 logo with a big screen TV.
Wouldn't it be cool if I could get them to put the Rangers logo up there instead? That'd be neat. Anyway.
After hours, call in the favors.
I have a little bit of pull in Disney. When I say a little bit, it's like this much. I don't have that kind of pull. The only kind of pull I have is when I do something stupid, like live streaming backstage months and months and months ago, and I got them to put up signs that said no live streaming. And it's affectionately known, apparently, and I don't know if this is true or not, but it's known as the Explorer's Rule. So if that's actually true, and I made that impact on Disney, I've left my mark, and I'm happy with that. If it's not true, it's a great story, and I still am going to keep telling it because I think it's freaking hilarious. So who knows, everybody, but make sure you're also, please, this weekend, Pete has a get-together happening up at his house. Tons of creators have come together. Please check out Dad Builds, Pete McDevitt Show, Disney Baker, Tina Marie. Check out AJC Magic, OCL, VP. Check everybody out, everybody. There's tons of content creators up there. Go and check out their stuff. I know it's in Pete's Discord. It's the entire schedule. Please make sure you go over and support them. You might know that I'm in Magic Kingdom. There's a reason for it. We're the Florida Park Explorers, everybody. Anything that says FPE starts with Florida Park Explorers. Come check us out in the parks regularly. We're here almost every day again. If you guys saw the new logo, where am I? It's up there. I love the new logo for FPEN Sports. We're getting rid of this one. I just forgot to do it. This is the only thing I forgot it on. So we'll get that updated for the next one. Yes, it looks like ESPN, but that was the point. Flattery is the best form of compliment I could think of. So, Sam, say it ain't so. Say it ain't so.
It's so. But hey, I'm going for you guys tomorrow night. Let's at least one of us get through.
I would love to see it. So I'm going to say for the natural, Sam, I am the BearShark. We appreciate you guys coming, hanging out, doing another episode of Even Strength with us. One of these days, this show's going to catch on and people are going to be watching it in droves. And you can say you were here in the beginning when some crazy guy talked hockey in Magic Kingdom. Who knows? Until then, everybody, we'll see you guys next week. Tomorrow night, come join me and then join Sam and I as we call some games for what will affectionately be known as Club Florida. Until then, everybody, take care. It's been another episode of Even Strength. We'll see you guys next week. Now let's see if I can find the button. Nope, that's the wrong one. Bear with me, everybody. There are bears with me. That's Crystal Corner. No. Big thumbs. Get out of the way. Oh, this is a disaster. Hey, Sam, we're never getting out of here. I just want you to know we're never leaving. All right, everybody, take care.